Intellectual stew. Oh, we're cooking something true.
Marriage for him was like making mashed potatoes.
Intellectual stew. Real raw and relevant for you. With James Kirkling guiding through the deep, the light,
Let me ask you
the old, the new. Intellectual stew. Yeah, we're stirring up the view. Irrelevant for you. With James Kirkling guiding through the deep, the light, the old, the new. Intellectual stew. Yeah, we're stirring up the view. Intellectual stew. Oh, we're cooking something true. Intellectual stew. Real raw and relevant for you. With James Kirkling guiding through the deep, the light, the old, the new. Intellectual stew. Yeah, we're stirring up the view. Intellectual stew. Oh, we're cooking something true. Intellectual stew. Real raw and relevant for you. With James Kirkling guiding through the deep, the light, the old, the new. Intellectual stew. Yeah, we're stirring up the view.
Oh, try to turn the music off. Hold on. I got it. Caught it. Bam. What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What it do? Time for another episode of the Intellectual Stew with yours truly. Do me a favor. Tell a neighbor, tell a friend, tell somebody that the Intellectual Stew is live and in person, and James is going to be telling his story tonight. So if you got some nosy people, some people who want to eavesdrop, some people, well, I don't really give a whole lot of mess because mess gives me headaches. It really does. It really does. What's up, Alicia Milton, my friend? How are you? Yeah, so we're going to be talking tonight, and I'm kind of looking forward to it. So if you would like this post, heart this post, let me go ahead and set up my little audience interactions because I want people to be able to join the show live at a certain point. In a few minutes, I'll put the phone number up. I'm really not, for the first few minutes, I'm probably not going to let you join the show live, but I want to go ahead and put the link in. So I'm doing that now. And then we're going to get into the meat of the matter tonight. And I want you all to stay with me, if you will, because there are some things I want to kind of get off my chest and hopefully approach life from a different perspective. And yeah, and I want us to see things a little differently, little differently. Let me pin this comment and we will be ready to go. All right. So what's up? What it do? Time for another episode of the Intellectual Stew with James Kirkland. And tonight on Open Mic Night, I want to make an argument that almost nobody makes, and not in the divorce space, right? Because everybody always wants to talk about their ex. But I don't think most divorced people married the wrong people. I think most divorced people mismanaged the right one. And tonight, I want to tell you a story to kind of show you what I mean. All right. So, welcome to the Intellectual Stew. I don't think most divorced people married the wrong person. I'm going to say that again. I think most of us mismanaged the right one. And tonight, I want to tell you a story to show you exactly what I mean. So welcome. Let's y'all go ahead and share this for me, please. Go ahead and share it. Let people know that we're on, and we will get this thing going. All right, y'all ready? Let's go. Let's hear to the song one more time.
Intellectual stew.
Hey.
Oh, we're cooking something true.
Y'all get some people in here. Let's go. So share it right quick. Share it. Like it. If you haven't liked it or hearted it yet, do that for me. And I'm about to get this thing started.
Real raw and relevant for you. James Kirkland guiding through the deep, the light, the old, the new intellectual stew. Stirring up with you.
All right. I think I feel my help coming now. Feel my help. So maybe it wasn't picking wrong. Let's because everywhere we hear in relationship culture, the message is the same, right? Red flags, narcissist, avoidance, toxic people. You should have picked better. And listen, sometimes that's true. Some people absolutely did marry the wrong person. But I think there's another conversation that we need to have that we rarely have. What if the bigger issue wasn't picking wrong? I'm calling on you to appeal to another side of your thinking. What if the issue was not picking wrong, but mismanaging what was right? Let's think about it. When you decided that you wanted to get married, y'all were in marital bliss, and they couldn't do any wrong. They were the most handsome or the prettiest person in the world. I mean, y'all just had everything together. Y'all got along great. I mean, everything, and y'all liked each other enough, or y'all loved that's right. Y'all loved each other enough for him to get down on one knee. Y'all decided to get married. In front of God, you make this commitment, but somewhere along the way, you go in different directions. And it happens. I understand. People sometimes grow apart, but when you leave, you're not leaving amicably, right? You're leaving angry. Now you can't stand them. Now you despise the ground they walk on. And it makes you wonder what happened to get to that point. And I tried to have this conversation with somebody today. And when we had this conversation, they kept focusing on the whys and the whys and the whys. And I'm like, I've heard enough whys. I want to hear some solutions. How do we move beyond this situation? And I started this conversation probably 5 years ago when I first started this podcast, because I thought I was going to go before the world, share my story. Hopefully she would hear part of it, maybe even eavesdrop, whatever, but I wasn't healed. So it probably sounded like a public bleed. I even had one woman come to me and she said, James, all you do is talk about your divorce. When are you going to stop talking about your divorce? And I heard her, and I stopped talking about it for a while. But now I'm talking from a different platform. I'm talking where I'm no longer bleeding. That's the scabs, the sore that was once a sore has become a scab, and now it's healed. I didn't pick at it. I'm at a different place now. She's moved on. Everybody, we're good now, right? But my question is, what's up, Conjure? But my issue is this: what if I didn't marry the wrong person? I just mismanaged the right one. And if I can take that position, so can a lot of other people, just to view it. And even those that are perhaps married now and might be going in different directions, maybe then they'll start to properly manage the growth that's going on in their situation. So let's talk about this. What is mismanagement? Mismanagement in a relationship looks like thinking presence takes care of itself. Mismanagement looks like thinking paying bills equals emotional connection. Thinking communication is just logistics. Thinking your spouse, here it is, and this is one of my mistakes, thinking your spouse will wait forever while you figure things out. or while you figure yourself out, while you're getting to know yourself, while you're trying to grow up, because growth always happens. But the problem happens when you start to grow apart as opposed to growing together, right? Because growth is going to always happen. So you think your spouse will wait forever while you grow up. Thinking ambition automatically compensates for absence. Thinking love survives neglect indefinitely. These are all ways of mismanaging a relationship. And I know this argument because I lived on the wrong side of it. But this was over 25 years ago. And as we talk tonight, I need you to hear my heart on this one. As we talk tonight, the man that I'm about to describe, that's not the man that I am now, right? Because the truth is, the man that I was then might have cost me my marriage. Probably cost me my marriage, right? Right. Because we grow up, we grow up, but sometimes you grow up too late, right? So I'm gonna need y'all to talk to me. I need y'all to share it with me, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna work my way through this tonight. And this is my story. This is my story. This is my story. All right. So let's talk about when presence left the house. Here it was. I was 26 years old when I got married. I was 26 years old. In the first year we had our first child. Living together. Not long after getting married, I got promoted into management. I got promoted into finance at the car dealership. I worked my way into the car dealership, into finance. So when you go into the finance business, and this is in 2000, no, this is in 98. Not long after that, you're making six figures, so you're making a lot of money, but to whom much is given, much is required, right? So that requires a whole lot of hours. Had to be at work a lot of times 50, 60 hours a week. And I'm at work. And so I want you to see the picture now, because I'm thinking I'm doing the right thing. I'm ambitious, right? I'm thinking that money can compensate for time, because if I can buy this and we can live comfortably and we can have the house, and then in my presence, when I show up, that should be the present. But that's not always the case, right? I'm working every day. I'm going to work. 12 hours a day. And some people would say that's admirable, but it's one thing to work. But when you work and make all this money, now you got to consider the cost, because see, sometimes things are more expensive. A bottle of water is more expensive at the Braves game than it is in the local gas station, right? Because it's there's a cost that's associated with it. What's up, Dennis? And so I'm doing all of this, and I'm working, and I'm chasing bonuses. I'm chasing identity. I'm chasing numbers. She works, but she works her shift 9 to 5. She comes home, but then when she comes home, she's got to carry the weight of home, because I just told you we had a brand new baby the first year, right? And she's got to carry that weight. And I'm thinking, because I'm bringing home $8,000-$10,000 a month, and I'm doing well, and we're living in a nice house, that was enough. But I didn't see the fact. I heard her, but I wasn't listening, right? Because she's saying that, I really don't care about the money. I just want you home. Because every night I'm at home and I'm doing it by myself. And I'm the one that has to be in the house with him alone. And I have to make sure that he does this. And I just tried to make it home to put him in the bathtub each night. That was what I tried to do, thinking that was enough. But sometimes thinking that your presence is the present is poisonous to the relationship. Because she's speaking, I'm like, give me 10 years and I promise you we'll be okay forever. But she was saying, I all I want is you. And if you hear but don't really listen, then you start to inadvertently, not even on purpose, start to create a pattern. Because now if you get to the point where you're hearing but not listening, and because you're going to do what you want to do regardless, right? And then later on, with the seed that you plant now, you might not reap from it now, but if you stick around long enough, when that seed finally germinates, when that seed finally starts to break its chaff and it comes out in a whole different. And I didn't understand it then, but looking back at it now, It was so much that I missed so many signs. Even when I was home, I was trying to leave. And it wasn't because I didn't like home. I mean, we had a 4-bedroom house. I mean, had all the creature comforts. I remember a friend came over. He said, man, y'all got furniture? Yeah, we had all of that. I furnished the whole house with one paycheck. I never will forget that. The people, I went down, not a credit card. I went down there and I furnished the whole. I mean, I think I paid him 17. It was several $1,000s within a couple of weeks. I wrote a check, told him to hold it because I mean, I was setting up a home and I thought that was enough. I thought we should be gracious. You know, what's up, Dennis Phillips? I thought that, I thought you should be grateful because I'm ambitious now, but I didn't realize that being ambitious was annihilating what I was trying to build. But that's the perfect sign of not properly managing the growth, because seeds are planted, right? Seeds are planted. My daddy, he plants seeds every year, but he puts them in a garden. He plants them in rows. He plants them so many feet apart. He gives the seed enough room to grow, right? Roses are planted in boxes because roses grow very, very wild. And because they grow very, very wild, then you have to give them room to grow. Even a relationship, you got to put boundaries around it. And when you put those boundaries around it, what you're in essence doing is you're giving that relationship room to grow. And so many of us make the mistake of not giving our relationships. And when we do give them to grow, when we do let them grow, we kind of let them grow like weeds. We just let them grow wild. But that was good, James. I like that. We just let them grow wild. I never will forget Dennis. We had a house and I was back then. I used to cut my own grass. I won't do it no more, but I used to cut my own grass back then. So I was in the yard and I'm walking through the yard and I'm cutting and I saw a flower. But the only problem with this flower is that I didn't plant any flowers, but it looked like a flower, right? It really did. But upon further discovery, I discovered that it was not a flower. In essence, it was a weed that was growing in the middle of my grass. It looked like a flower, but it was not a flower. So I found myself on my knees plucking this flower. And the reason I was doing that, because I almost forgot where I was going. But the reason I was doing that was because if I would have allowed that weed to continue to fester in my yard, it would have done more harm than good. So it was my responsibility as the homeowner to get down on my knees. If I didn't have any type of weed repellent, I got down on my knees and literally picked every weed that would have eventually attacked my grass and kept my grass from growing the way that it should have grown. Think if we did that with our relationships. And I'm not talking about far along in the relationship after we've gotten so resentful and so upset that we don't like each other anymore. But I'm talking about early on, when we see signs of distress, when we see signs where there might be problems, when we see, which I know the word y'all like to use, when we see red flags. When we saw red flags, when somebody would just say, you know what, I'm gonna be man enough or woman enough, or I'm concerned enough about the relationship. When I see a red flag, I'm gonna throw up the white flag. Come on, let's talk. What if? Whatever. So I look back now and I understand why she would say, I don't care about the money. I just want you home. And I get it. But what I didn't understand then, and I understand now, because I told you a long time ago, even when I was present, I really wasn't present because I was trying to leave and not necessarily trying to run from anything. But I think I was running towards a version of myself I thought success was going to build. I thought money would validate me. I thought grinding made me responsible. I thought exhaustion made me honorable. And the dealership culture teaches you that overworking is a badge of honor, and young men buy into that, but they don't consider the cost. That's why now when I go to work now. I mean, because I'm back in the dealership, but I don't want management. I don't want that capacity. I go from 8 to 5 or 10 to 7, and I'm out because I'm in a different space now. I don't have to. I mean, the culture I was in then was totally different. They had to have. I mean, so many of them were on drugs. Because they had to keep that high going. But I remember being in sitting in a finance chair making $120,000 a year, hoping that a $40,000 church would rescue me, because there was a juxtaposition in my life that I wanted to make the money, but I also wanted the passion, and the passion fulfilled me over here, but the money came over here. So until I can validate myself one way, I needed to validate myself like this. So I chased a version of myself that I thought money would validate, that I thought status would substantiate, that would give me, that I would have a certain. And now looking back over it, because I don't have any of those things anymore, and I really don't care. I honestly, I really wish I could say it like I wanted, but I know some church folk here, I really don't care. Because those things don't matter anymore. If that make it the things that matter, those things have no significance in my life. They don't validate me. They don't make me any more of a man. They don't, and because I'm more me. I used to say this expression that every day I become a little more me. And I'm more me now with less money. I'm more me now without the fancy car. And I had it. Let me see what Dennis said. Let me read this. I'm gonna put the phone number up in a minute, y'all, because I just want to talk for a minute. Let me see what my little brother said. And if y'all have not shared this, would you please share it? And if you haven't liked it, would you please like or heart it? And we really gonna get this conversation. He said, "What about the fact you needed success to feel whole? She needed you home, and I get that. But what about that fact you took your position as provider seriously? And that's a good question. Because we always hear the statement, happy life, happy wife, and then we say we should promote happy spouse, happy house, all those things. I don't think I needed those things, honestly. I think I wanted those things. But I think that here it is, Dennis. Here it is. I think when that success is fueled by a fear of failure, then that's where the problem comes. And I don't think I was more concerned, because I don't think I was doing it more so for me than I was doing it for other people, to be seen a certain way, right? Or to look a certain way, or to fit into a certain crowd, because I didn't want to fail. And I felt like failure was not an option. And I thought that Conjure, that's it. I thought that I just needed to take care of home. And the best way I could make that look, I didn't, at my, what I felt like, even after my divorce, I took all of the responsibility. So even in the marriage, I felt like it was all my responsibility. As a man, I just felt like it was that's why I don't understand these 50-50 conversations. That makes no sense to me. I think I think as a man, you're going to do what needs to be done. But it irks me to hear somebody saying, well, you got to do, don't tell me what I got to do. But I show the responsibilities rather than welcoming them into the partnership and let her be a part of this whole growth process. I kind of did it independently, didn't include her in the plans, didn't share the vision. And I think that's where you really make mistakes in relationships, when you fail to cast vision. As a visionary, you ought to be able to cast the vision. And even if Dennis, wanted to go after that version of success, I should have articulated that in such a way as say, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. And even in my downtime, I should have definitely been at home. Definitely made sure we did the vacations. Definitely maximized the moments when and I didn't. That's just me. That's just my testimony. So I feel you, little bro. And that's a real good question. You always ask good questions. You always ask good. But this is my problem also, Dennis. I thought becoming successful would automatically make me a better husband. But the thing is, success without presence is still absence. Does that make sense? And truthfully, when I was at home, I wasn't really at home. When I was home mentally, I was other places. Emotionally, a lot of times I was checked out. Because when I put I don't know if I'm as much an introvert as I am isolated. I think it's a combination of both. So, but when I do people, when I come home, I have to really, really decompress, right? Like decompress. And so sometimes when I'm around, I could be in a room full of people, but emotionally I'm checked out, spiritually disconnected, already halfway headed somewhere else, because the body was present, the body was there, but there was no presence. Not like I should have been. Not like I should have been. I was always looking for another reason to leave, honestly. Another errand, another shift, another distraction. And arrogance at the end of the day, if I looking at it with healed lenses, and that's just like I said, knowing I wouldn't have known that then. But arrogance was underneath it all. I thought I'm doing this. If y'all haven't harder to like it this yet, I'm gonna read a comment now. Dennis said, I think women have to choose. Do you want a man with means or a man who has time? I don't know if it's possible to get 100% of both. That's a good question. That's a good question. Y'all ladies, y'all talk about that in the chat. Y'all talk about that with Dennis in the chat. I'm gonna read some of these comments. One of these days, I'm gonna have somebody who does the back room for me and handle these comments. I want to read some of these comments. But y'all talk about what I think Dennis put up. Let me put his comment up. And I'm gonna take a hot minute to let y'all discuss what Dennis just said. Hold on. I'm alone, y'all. So I gotta read these comments and going. Let me Chiquita. Some people sometimes people compartmentalize so that two don't have to face the reality of what's in front of them. Absolutely. Dennis said, what a question that women should ask early for charity. Oh wow. Man, Calvin, I can't get that comment, all of it right now, but y'all can read it. I'll go back and read all of them. Sometimes people compartmentalize so that they don't have to face what's in front of them. Where am I trying to go? No, I'm not trying. I got to get somebody to do this back room, because I can't keep up with these comments and keep going. But I'm gonna do my best, y'all. I'm gonna do my best. All right. I'm gonna do my best. All right. So let's keep talking. Honestly, that leaving, because I'm in the house one minute, then all of a sudden I'm like, I'm running to Walmart right quick. Let me run down the street right quick. And I wasn't running. I don't know what I was doing. I don't know. Maybe I didn't want to face reality. I don't know. In fact, I thought I'd grow out of it, Chiquita. And I thought she would wait. I thought I would grow up at a certain point. And I think a lot of young men assume that. A lot of men. I can't speak for everybody else, but I think a lot of young men assume. Oh, y'all supposed to be discussing Dennis's comment. Let me put it back up. There it is. All right, there it is. All right. Yeah, honestly, I thought I would grow out of it. I thought she'd wait. And I thought, like, once I mature, once I settle down, once I get X number of dollars in the bank, once I get, financially stable, once I become who I was chasing, you know what I'm saying? Who I'm trying to become, and she'll still be there. I remember her telling me one time. She told me something, Dennis, and it was not offensive. She really had my best interest at heart. And I can say this from a healed space. She's moved on. God bless her. I'm moving on. I'm healed enough, ready for a relationship now. But I can say this now. I remember her giving me like good advice. Dennis, I remember one time she told me, don't let people use you as a garbage can. Man, that was real good advice from a lady that was 3 years younger than me, right? But one day she was assessing me. She said, when you get the confidence that your peers have, she said, you're going to be awesome. And she spoke into me, man. And even when I heard her, I never will forget the way she told me how I heard it. It hurt me to my core to realize how I had betrayed the trust that she had built up in me, because she saw me deeper and better than I saw myself. Right? She saw me deeper than I saw myself. And I'm sitting there thinking that she'll still be there. She'll still be there. But sometimes, here it is. People get tired, ladies, and if y'all agree, y'all can just drop a 1 in the chat right here if y'all agree with this. But sometimes people get tired of waiting on potential. Sometimes, and brothers, hear me, fellas, if you are where I was, hear me. Sometimes women get tired, and even dating now, I hear they'll put in their dating profiles, I'm not dating potential, because they've been through that. And it doesn't seem fair, because we have to cater to I get all that, especially when I ain't gonna get into who the prize is and all that kind of stuff. But sometimes people get tired of waiting on potential. I want to read Calvin's comment. Calvin said, man, you and I have similar testimonies. I went through almost the same thing, making $80,000 a year back in 92, 93. I remember talking to a lady at work about marriage and relationships. When I told her how I was doing, she said something to me that blew me out the water. She told me, "You giving them stuff, but you don't want stuff they want you. They don't want stuff they want you, and to enjoy life with you." And because of my mindset at that time, because of how I was raised, it cost me my family eventually. And there was nothing I kept from my family, but I lost in the end. I gave them everything but me. I fell in love with the money. We started out with nothing, but I thought I was doing them right as a man, providing just a small clip of that's good, man. And I appreciate you for that testimony. I really do. And I can relate on so many levels. I can. But you know what the funny part about that is, Calvin, is that sometimes we chase the symptoms of success, but we don't have the substance for success. It's one thing to have the symptoms of success, but it's a whole different thing to have the substance for that success. A lot of us, we were chasing money and going after money, but we weren't taught about money. A lot of us didn't know how to take that same money and make that money multiply. Like Dennis is my brother. Dennis has already gotten on me about potentially doing things in our community as we create this community about financial literacy and all of those types of things, because a lot of us weren't taught on how to make money. Calvin, that's both of y'all. That's a good testimony, bro, and I appreciate that. And somebody's gonna be blessed for that. And bro, listen, the link is in the chat, Calvin. If you want to come on and share that testimony, I would love to have this conversation with you right now. But I have the video link in the chat, and if you want to come on, bro, let's talk. Because I'm there with you. I can put this on pause, and we can start doing a little bit more of this next week, because this is going to be our platform for a minute. Because I want to, number one, I want to talk to people who might go through what I want to go through, and number two, I want to talk to sisters who went through things with brothers like me. Because I need you to understand our mindset. But instead of recognizing the red flag, maybe if we can put up a white flag, or maybe if you call it out and make it comfortable. And then, brothers, we got to give them an opportunity to make it comfortable. Man, wasn't nothing more comfortable than coming home and I had a bad day, and then hearing that voice. It was healing in that voice. But you take it for granted, right? So sometimes people get tired. Calvin, I'm serious. If you want to come on, bro, it's yours. In fact, let me put the phone number up too. That was good. That was real good. I like those kinds of testimonies. I wish I could read all your comments, but I can't at this point because y'all see why. All right, so let me put the topic up and put the phone number up. There we go. Let me turn the phone on. No, hold on, Calvin. Man, you done bless me tonight. All right, turn the phone on. All right, now we got the phone on. Let me close up some tabs, and we are good to go. What other comments did I miss? All right. So Calvin, Dennis is asking you a question in the comments, and that's what I want y'all doing. If you don't come on, this is still open mic night. So I've got the link in the chat. What happens is if you click on that link, it's going to ask you to allow your camera to come on. All I'm going to ask you to do is turn your phone down, and if you have an earpiece, put the earpiece in your ear, and hopefully have decent lighting, and then you can come on video with me. Or if you don't feel comfortable coming on video, because a lot of people don't, the phone number is 404-860-2775. Now, you also see something, a little Cash App symbol right there. If you all want to be a blessing to the platform because the platform blesses you, do so. I've already created a partner platform for those that want to be partners. The partner platform starts at $25 a month, and I'll scroll your name at the bottom of the show, letting people know that you are a partner. So if you want to be a part of that, and I have other sponsorship packages as well. So if you want to be a part of that, by all means, do so. Okay. Let me read one of Conjura's comment and quit talking about those. And listen. Okay, so I'm gonna say something. Conjura, because we're joking about the pajamas, but I want to say something. Because I joke for engagement. I do. You know, and I don't really want to wear matching pajamas. I might do it, but I don't really want to. Right. But I heard somebody the other day say that him not wanting to wear pajamas was a form of control. That's what she said. She said him not wanting to wear those pajamas, choosing not to, was a form of control. And that might have been his story. But I think if he doesn't want to do it and you get upset with him or make him do it, isn't that a form of control? That's a rhetorical question. You don't have to answer it out loud. But I'm not going to ask you to do anything you don't want to do in a relationship. Nothing. I'm not going to ask if number one, if I know your love language, then I'm going to love you on your love language. This is the mature version of James. This is not me 25 years ago. If I know what your triggers are, then I'm going to stay away from the things that trigger you. If I know you don't like something, that's like if you know that I'm allergic to shellfish and you fix my plate and you see they have gumbo on the menu, would you go and put gumbo in my plate? I remember one time somebody used the same spoon from the gumbo with the stewed chicken, and my mouth started to break out because. So you're gonna protect me from something that triggers me. So if I don't like it or I don't want it, why is that a deal breaker? I don't know. But I guess why happy wife, happy life. But anyway, sometimes people get tired of waiting on potential. I get that. And I'll be honest, I wasn't transparent. Y'all, Calvin is telling his testimony in the chat, y'all. Y'all need to listen to that. He said, what I learned was you can have money and still feel broke because there's no enjoying there. It's not. You can't enjoy money alone. You can't. And that's why you have to, even in those instances, and this is where I messed up, Calvin. This is my assessment, Calvin, in that instance. If I had managed the growth when I wasn't at work, but I'm so spent when I wasn't at work that I was chasing something just to feel normal or to feel balanced, because being in work, that really wasn't who I wanted to be. And I had to go up there and fake it with them people all day long. That was a lot. But I'll be honest, I wasn't transparent. There were things I was doing in those years, honestly, I had no business doing. You can assume what you want, and some of the things you assume will probably be right. But I'll neither confirm nor deny. Some of the things you probably. But you don't, and I don't have to tell every detail to tell you the truth. I don't. But part of mismanagement is secrecy. Part of mismanagement is immaturity. Part of mismanagement is assuming that love can survive neglect indefinitely. That's not only mismanagement, that's also a miscalculation. Because eventually the marriage got mismanaged into a place that it couldn't come back from. Let me see what Chiquita said. What's up, Rashad? That's my brother out there in San Diego. That's my friend. What's going on, bro? Let me see what Chiquita said. And Chiquita said, I gotta scroll up. Chiquita said it's based on looking at people's patterns over time. Sometimes you should make small sacrifices for someone you claim to care about. I get it. And you should, but I'm not going to even put a but on that, because you're right. You should make small sacrifices. But let me ask you a question, hypothetically. What if, because most people do that during the Christmas season, right? But what if everybody don't feel the same about Christmas, right? Like hypothetically, what if somebody grew up in a house where they didn't get many presents, or when they did get presents, the presents were scrutinized so much that people left Christmas morning feeling dejected, hating that Christmas showed up, and I could be telling my story. You never know. But what if they went through that growing up? So Christmas doesn't mean as much to them. So when they see certain things, not that they're a Scrooge, because they want to see other people happy, right? I mean, they do. But there might be some triggers there. If you've uncovered that and realize that that's the trigger, is it really a sacrifice then, or is it part of self-annihilation? And you're asking him to participate, because everything could be rooted a little bit deeper. And if you love them enough, then I think you love them through it, because then you realize it's just like you just said, it's a small sacrifice. And I'm just playing devil's advocate. I'm not saying that that's the case, but I do agree. You should make small sacrifices. I do. Y'all can come on. Phone number's lit, 404-860-2775. Many Black people say I'm like my ancestors because many couples rather run away instead of admitting mistakes and ask their spouse to help them in their weakness. God will give their strength and peace if we follow his instruction. I mean, I agree with that. And I think part of that problem came, Conjure, when we stopped listening to Big Mama Neil. And I hear y'all, granddaddy cheated on grandmama, yada, yada, yada. But we still come from a culture that's called a being communal type culture, right? Where we went to the elders. That's why they said if there be any sick, call the elders of the church that they may lay hand. But we went to the elders in the community for wisdom. And wisdom even teaches you what to and what not to do. Now we listen to books and we get so much bad advice. Do you realize how much social media affects relationships? And nobody on social media is really talking about the ones that are really, really doing it. They're not getting, it's not people talking about positive relationships. That's why tonight I talked about maybe it wasn't that we chose the wrong spouse. Maybe we mismanaged the one we were given. Because maybe we could stop talking about I heard somebody jokingly say that you're my next ex. They're going into relationships expecting to fail instead of doing the work to heal, to get to the place of forgiveness, where you put things in perspective, where they don't bother you as much, or you put them in a place where, because forgiveness is not for them, it's for you, because it releases you from that prison, right? One thing about it is my ex and I, we can certainly have amicable relationships. I mean, a very amicable, when we can talk and not have any issues at all. Hold on, let me see. I hope I'm not going to get fussed at. Let me see. Everyone has triggers. It's important that when you're in a relationship, you feel comfortable enough to share that with your partner. When you know that you have the background knowledge, learn not to ask something that will stir up those bad memories. But sometimes it's not that. It's just being contrary. And absolutely, there's always a sometimes on every situation. And that's part of. And Chiquita, you know what's funny to me? The best example you can really have in marriage is that's why it's good when you come from two-parent homes with loving parents. I love to see you and your brother honor your mother and your father, and I know you honored him until his passing, and I know your mother did the same, because that's the best example for marriage. But now we live in a society where some people have never seen a healthy marriage. My parents have been married for 46 years, and that's my dad's second marriage. Maybe my stepmom's second marriage. But they've been married. So I've seen marriage through ups and downs. I've seen a marriage survive different seasons. And when you have those examples, then you learn that people don't just wake up one day and be married for 10 years, right? 10 years of marriage required 3,650 days. And to survive the 3,650th day, you had to have the history of the 3,649 days, because every day you learn how to be married. Sometimes we think that we have these frozen dinner type marriages where we can just take it out of the microwave, take it out of the freezer, put it in the microwave, and then all of a sudden you got a fully baked marriage. No, you got to learn, like Chiquita just said, you got to learn the triggers. You got to learn the history. You got to learn what makes people tick. You got to learn all of these things to really understand what you're dealing with. And when you understand what you're dealing with, then, as we talked about earlier, you can manage the relationship, you can manage the growth, and make the growth grow in the right direction. I tell this story all the time. Young lady used to talk on the show all the time. All she would talk about is what would happen if a man cheated on her. If he cheats on me, this will happen. And so one day I finally asked her, well, who cheated on who? Did your mother get cheated on? No. Have you ever been cheated on? No. Has your grandmother been cheated on? No. Well, if nobody's been cheated on, then why are you, that's all you're talking about is what would happen if you get cheated on. To me, that was the equivalence of fighting air. You've already put something in place that the Bible says give no place to the devil. I mean, I'm not going to give ammunition to something that could annihilate my relationship. I would have then, because I made mistakes. Let me see what Chiquita said. Chiquita said, agreed. That makes a huge difference. I didn't realize before I went into my marriage, we may not have been equally yoked in that way. That's why young couples need marriage mentors. It helps. Absolutely. Because sometimes we do marry the wrong person. Sometimes we get married because we're pregnant. Sometimes we get married because that's the idea of a person that we know. He had straight hair or curly hair. He had green eyes. He was 6'2". He looked like a husband. He had a certain level of success. So we married. So we had this idea of what love looked like. So, and he looked like he fit the part, or she looked like she fit the part. So then we went and got married, and we didn't seek God. We didn't get counseling, but he made six figures. He had a nice house. I didn't know he had an alcohol problem. I didn't know his daddy was an alcoholic and his mama was. I didn't that they had been through 3 divorces, and this was following them through generation. I didn't realize all of those things. I didn't know that his mama had raised a husband instead of your husband. I didn't know all those things, and because I didn't, now I'm married to this, and now I'm trying to now. Oh, now I'm trying to do damage control instead of management. That's good. That's good. I'm not pointing the finger at Chiquita. She said, "No, I didn't get pregnant. Until I had been married for that. That wasn't you. I would listen. These are general statements. This is not this is general. I'm not talking about anybody specifically. Okay. And if I was talking about somebody specifically, I would never put their business. I just use case studies to talk. To use on the show. Hey, but 9 years of marriage without getting pregnant before you had your first child. That means y'all planned the baby. That's darn good. That's darn good. That's real good. That's doing good. So eventually it cost me. It cost me. It cost me because the marriage eventually got to a place where I had mismanaged it so much that I couldn't come back. And listen carefully tonight, because she's doing fine. Like I said, she's moved on. She's done her work. She did her real work. She went to counseling. I didn't go to counseling. I came and told y'all all my business. And the man you're hearing tonight, he's not the man she married. To be honest with you, I'm a totally different person. I've grown up. Therapy has helped. And honestly, I don't even know where that James is anymore. That was the same James that before I started writing my book, that I walked by the mirror one day, and when I looked in the mirror and I said, "Hey, self." I said, "Hey, self." Let me see what my friend Mike Evans said. What's up? What's going on, Mike? Thanks for listening tonight. Mike said, I grew up watching and listening to my dad. And the older men said that the men are to provide and protect their wives and family. I knew I did that on the highest level, but the one thing that I was never taught was how to protect my wife from me and my stubbornness. Wow. Man, I almost cussed. Gee, let me pin that comment. Good night. Sisters, do y'all hear this? Wow. And I even told my ex, that's why the next wife gets the benefit of the good husband. But she built him. He said we were taught, and so Mike, we gotta teach that lesson to these younger brothers, man, and we got to be transparent in that regard. He said, I was taught how to provide, but I wasn't taught how to protect her from me and my stubbornness. Bro, if you want to come on and talk about that, the comment is pinned in the comments. If you click on that, you can come on the show live, because I'd love to hear more about that story, Mike. And sisters, don't listen to respond right now. For a moment, these are men. I'm 53 years old. I made it 20 years in my marriage. Then I got divorced. I'm telling you my story, but something kept me married for 20 years. Calvin had the same testimony. He's telling his story. That's transparency. Mike just told his story. And that's that. Honestly, when you hear that story, you hear that testimony, you just got to let that settle for a minute. That's not even something to say, well, sometimes this is what happens, or this. No, that's something to say. My response was, wow. He said, I was taught to provide, and he did that on the highest level, but I was never taught how to protect her from my stubbornness. Because see, some of us grew up so, and wasn't my testimony, but some of us didn't grow up wealthy. And we wanted certain things, so it made us ambitious. And our ambition made us go after those things. And some of us equated, especially if you grew up in the South, some of us equated money to power. And that money, if it made us powerful, it got us in rooms, it got us access, it made us look the part. Once again, it gave us the symptoms of success, but it didn't give us substance for that success. And I believe, Mike, tell me if I'm wrong, that's what you're saying when you're saying that you didn't have the substance enough to protect your wife from you and your stubbornness. That's tough. That's wow. Yeah. 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 Conjure says sometimes people get married because of situations, for example, like income, trying to avoid homelessness. Yeah, I get all. Yeah, that's true. But Mike, you blessed me with that one. He said I didn't know how to protect my wife from me and my stubbornness. How do y'all, ladies? How do y'all feel hearing a man share his testimony like that? Because I think that's transparency on the highest level. To admit, and it's bad, it's sad sometimes that we grew up too late. I grew up too late because my growth produced growing pains, and those growing pains, the pain became so unbearable that the choice was to amputate this time instead of rehabilitating again. When my son got his final injury in baseball, he said, "Dad, I'm done," and I could hear it in his voice. He didn't want to go through rehabilitation anymore. He said, I'm tired of hurting. I hurt 200 plus days a year from different injuries during the course of my life. How many times had I injured her in the relationship? How many times, brothers, have we injured her? Sisters, how many times have we injured our spouse? So many times in the relationship that eventually we got tired of going through rehabilitation, and they said, I give up. I'm done. I'm throwing in the white flag. You win. I heard a woman say one time, "You got it." And when you hear a woman say, "You got it," it's over. It's like when a woman's fed up. When they say, you got it, you got it, I'm out. That's a tough place to be in. So, Chiquita, I appreciate you for all your commentary tonight. Let me see. She says sometimes women can have unrealistic expectations of their man based on not growing. Ooh, let me put that comment up. Y'all, I wish y'all would come on and talk about this with me. She says sometimes women can have unrealistic expectations of their man based on not growing up with a man in the home, or conversely having a father who provided everything without letting her know the struggle and sacrifices it took to get there. That's good. That's good. That's good, and that's maturity. And what's fun and the sad part about it is that message is not getting out. Sisters would rather listen to us talk and get mad about talking about Meg the Stallion and Clay. What's his name? Clay Thompson. Yeah, Clay Thompson. People that wasn't even married. They was bought a house together and wasn't even married. But that's relationship goals, hashtag, whatever y'all say. How? That blows my mind. That blows my mind. That blows my mind. It blows my mind. But here it is. I don't know, and I mean it when I say this. I really don't know where that James is anymore. Because he's gone. When I looked in the mirror that day and I said, "Hey, self," I started doing the work. If you have not liked this, like it, share it for me right quick. Like it, share it for me right quick. But I started doing the work. And when I started doing the work, I started becoming a better me. That's when I came up with the whole hashtag on the path to better. Let me holler at my girl right quick. Let her drop some knowledge on us right quick, and I'll be right back. Come on, LaRue, tell us something.
Sometimes we spend so much time asking who hurt us that we never ask who we became while hurting. Growth begins the moment honesty becomes more important than ego. Don't just grieve what ended. Learn from what was mishandled.
I love her. That's LaRue. That's my co-host. I gave her my deceased mother. I gave her my and happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. But I gave her my mother's middle name. I gave her my mother's middle name. But she said sometimes we're so busy grieving instead of learning from the relationship and moving forward. And that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. I want to have these healthy grown men and grown women conversations where we don't point the finger at each other, but we talk about our experiences and we learn from those experiences. Let me read these two comments. And if I don't get farther tonight, I won't. Alicia, she said, women are often fed up long before it becomes a full out conversation. After that, I hear that. Usually she's all but begged out to talk about the issues, but the spouse doesn't want to talk. but he's all ears when he realizes she's serious about checking out. I can see that. I can absolutely see that. I can see that. I can see that. Let me see. Mike said, you're right. I worked in a warehouse and I became friends with a lot of females, and she didn't like that. But I was so convinced that I could be friends with them and remain faithful. She warned me and pleaded with me, but it wasn't a good idea. Eventually, I learned the hard way that she was correct. And that's what we as men have to do. Chiquita used the scripture a couple of weeks ago when she was on the show, when she talked about Genesis, where the two become flesh, right? Where you take two very separate entities in marriage and you put them together and two become one. And when two become one, then she's a part of me and I'm a part of her. And typically women, that amygdala, boy, that body's alarm system, that spirit's alarm system, those spidey senses, women's intuition, whatever you want to call it, it's right, Mike. And bro, like you, I learned that when they usually say something, when she would tell me, don't let people use you as a trash can, that was her probably eavesdropping on my conversations and listening to me saying something that I had no business saying, a conversation that will come back and bite me later on in life, because women have a way of picking up on those things. So if you're in the warehouse and she's telling you, hey, it might not be a good idea, especially when because women are attracted to power or what they perceive as power. And all women don't have positive morals like some of the sisters on this in this chat tonight. I used to ask people, when men cheat, who do they cheat with? Sometimes, and most times, it's a woman. Now I know we got this whole different phenomenon now. I'm not going to go there, but most of the time, it's a woman who was willing to cheat with him, and it was something about him that made her attractive and made them attracted to each other. And a lot of times, it's because of power or perceived power. But so it's better. So it's good when men and women cover each other in whatever way it takes to make sure that each other are covered, to make sure no, I ain't gonna say all that. I'm gonna leave that out. Yeah. So that James might be gone, but he cost me, and I'm telling you about that James, and now Mike is telling you about his Mike, and Calvin is telling you about that Mike, is because we don't want it to cost somebody else who might be going through something similarly. Right? So what's the real issue? That's why I keep saying most divorces are not just about picking wrong. A lot of them are about mismanagement. What we mismanage, like Alicia just said a long time ago. By the time the woman is fed up, she's long gone, because there's been a time where something was mismanaged, and a lot of times it's on us, brothers. It is. Sometimes it might be on you. I know some women who don't like drama, so they don't argue. So because they don't argue, they suppress every thought. They don't want to complain out loud. They don't want to be viewed as a nagger. All those things. So they don't say anything. So I think the healthiest part of our relationship is at a certain point, Chiquita, where we were probably in the lowest point of our marriage, lowest point of life, not necessarily in our marriage, but we would wake up. It seemed like the Lord would wake us up every night at 3:00, and the room would be pitch black. And we would have our best conversations at 3 a.m. I think I wrote a section in my book called 3 a.m. Conversations. And in those 3 a.m. conversations, we couldn't see each other. We knew we were in the bed, but it was so dark in the room that we literally couldn't see. All we did was hear each other's voice. And those were some of the best conversations. Now, eventually, didn't manage the growth. We ended up growing apart again after that. And part of that was really because the man I was 25 years ago never evolved. That's me. Let me see what Chiquita said. No, that's not always true about women being attracted to power. Nothing. Listen to what I'm saying. No statement that I say is ever absolute. I know it's not always true. I mean, believe me, I know. I get it. There are some women that that don't think on those lines. So when I say certain things like that. But let me see what she said. It's not always attracted to power. Women are attracted to a man who they feel can take care of them and let them be a woman and not a provider. That doesn't always mean power. Absolutely. I think those are two different conversations. I 100% agree with you. That's a very mature woman. That's the one I think I was married to. Those are the ones that act like ladies. But then you will agree, there are some women who are attracted to power. We see it every day. I mean, I don't know how much you scroll social media, but shoot, even the Country Wayne skits, I mean, they be dropping 10,000, 20,000. I mean, just like it ain't nothing. Put on a $30,000 a month salary. Come on, bro, for real. That ain't even realistic. I mean, one time I was trying to talk to this young lady, and this was like through a dating app. We hadn't even met in person yet, and she asked me to send her money for lunch. And I said, "How much you want me to send you?" I said, "Well, $20." No, I need at least $50 for lunch. I don't even know you. I haven't. Well, you look like you got it. Of course, I didn't send it. But that's what we're leading with in these days. And I think those types of women, those are the ones I'm talking about, Chiquita. I'm not, and because like I said, there are different times. They're different kinds, different, right? But you're right. I think most women, I would probably say most women would prefer to have someone who provides, a good provider, a good provider. I agree with that wholeheartedly. But I'm looking at what social media has produced on the other side of that. Do you agree? And if you don't, tell me, and I'll and then we'll agree to disagree, or I'll agree. I might agree with you. You can tell me. All right. So like I said, most divorces are not just about picking wrong. A lot of them are about mismanagement, not hearing what your spouse is actually saying, right? Not acting on what mattered most, being physically present while emotionally absent. And this is just my testimony. This is just me, waiting for somebody to survive. This one it hit me earlier. This one hit me earlier. Waiting on somebody to survive your becoming. In other words, waiting on them, expecting them to wait on you to grow up. And then they wait year after 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 year, and they don't see any evidence or signs of growth. How long do you expect them to wait? I wrote in my book, I would have divorced me too. No doubt about it. I would have definitely, based on who I was and what I had done and what I had not produced at that point, I would have divorced me too. Let me see. Sure, there are plenty of gold diggers. Okay, I didn't even think of that word, but that is the word. Men have to have discernment. But some men want to be gold diggers because they want to pay for, it's like leasing a car. They want to pay for the percentage of the vehicle they plan on using. So that some men that gives them their identity, because the money gives, like I just said earlier about me and Calvin, some of us, money gives us a perceived power. What we perceive as power. So we think it gives us access to certain women. So it's not all on women, and it's certainly not all on men. This is a give and take situation. This is what our society has produced. But the problem is, just because I play spades, and when I play spades, I gotta play the hand that's dealt, no doubt. But there are times that mail comes to my house. It might have my address on it, but doesn't necessarily have my name. And when it doesn't have my name on it, all I can do is put RTS on it. What that means is return to sender. So just because it comes, I don't have to necessarily. Does that make sense? So there we have certain people who operate in every different category. And I thought that this perceived power gave me access. I thought because I bought a Mercedes Benz, we lived in a 4-bedroom house, that we looked the part. Everything was great. Me had the child. I mean, everything was great, grand, and wonderful. But I was present, but I was only present with my presence. Yeah. And I hear a lot of people, they're probably listening right now. They're saying, James, that might have been your story, but I really did marry the wrong person. And maybe you did. Some people truly experience abuse, manipulation, chaos, toxicity, all those things. But tonight, before we blame them for the entire story, I want us to sit with ourselves for just 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes. And I want you to drop a 1 in the chat if somebody ever told you you just picked the wrong person, and honestly, that advice didn't help. Because we hear that women, I know women get angry with men, especially when they say, when we talk about them, bad baby daddies, and then brothers, there's this certain segment of men who are the non-simps, I guess they call themselves. And the first thing they want to do is tell a woman about themselves and say, well, you picked him. Yeah, but she didn't pick that process. She didn't think he was going to be like that, but and I get it. But when somebody's told you that before, that you picked the wrong person, if they've ever told you that before, at some point drop a 1 in the chat. Let me know that that they've told you that. And truth be told, when they told you that, it didn't make you feel any better. Because sometimes you're sitting with something that you already know or that you've been wrestling with for the last, because you might have been married for 20 years, but it might have took you 5 years to leave. Because you were saving a little bit every check, building up the courage, praying and asking God for a sign, waiting on that release. All of those things, making sure you can endure the embarrassment, because you're going to have to deal with the family and church folk and all of that. You sit with all that. That's it. Mike said he feel his ex married the wrong person. She was and still is a great person. Yeah, and man, that's a heck of a position, and that's self-sacrifice. Because I don't think she deserved the person she married, but I think that had I grown up sooner, I definitely could have been the right person. Because I think she was right in that season of my life. I think she was right for me, but I wasn't ready for her. If that might be the right way to say it. Right. That's right. But here's the next question, and we're almost done. If you stop blaming your ex for 10 minutes, what's one thing you'd have to admit that you mismanaged? If there was something, this is a transparency moment. Chiquita, you've been talking. Conjua, you've been talking. Viola, I saw you earlier. Those who are still listening, and those who have exes, not necessarily ex-wives. You can be ex-boyfriends, ex-girlfriends. If you can think of one thing in the relationship that you mismanaged, what would it be? I know I mismanaged communication, because a lot of conversations I had in my head that never made it to my mouth that I should have had. I know I mismanaged time, because the time that I was available, sometimes I was emotionally absent. What was it for you? Let me give you some examples. If y'all gonna talk back to me a little bit tonight, unless you were perfect. Now, if you were 100% perfect in the marriage, then I don't expect you to say anything. I know you had it all together. But some examples would be communication, listening, transparency. That was one of mine. I'm gonna raise my hand on that one. I definitely wasn't transparent. Emotional presence. Yeah, I guess I read priorities, affection, patience, honesty. Y'all are perfect. I get it. Y'all didn't have no issues. This is a safe space. I promise you, it'll help you. It'll help you. I mean, just get rid of it. It's a safe space. Time, anger. Mike said, "Oh, Chiquita, I believe that about you." Mike said communication and fidelity. Okay, I appreciate your honesty. Fidelity, I definitely was not where I needed to be. Selfish. Y'all can come on, like the phone lines are open. The phone lines are open. 404-860-2775. Y'all come on and talk if you want to. Or if you want to click the chat. Oh, y'all talking now. Click the link in the chat if you want to come on video. I'd love to see your pretty face. Oh, Vakisa. Let me see. There are a lot of variables to consider once you are faced with your reality. I didn't trust my gut, and I saw a project and not what reality. Absolutely. Can I ask, at what age were you when you got married, Vakisa? I'm not going to ask your age now. I know you. I know you do not ask a woman her age. I've learned that, but I'm gonna ask how old were you when you got married, and how old were you where you got married, and how long were you married? If you don't mind me asking that question. If you call in, like I said, we can talk about it on the phone, or if you want to come on camera, or if you just want to put it in the chat, that's fine. I want to ask that question as well. You were 29 when you got married, and how long did y'all stay married? If you don't mind me asking. 29. That's a good age. I was 26. Jawanza Kunjufu said we should get married at 28. We should wait 4 years to have children. No, I think 4, and then have them 4 years apart. No, he said 28 to get married, have 2 children, 4 years apart. 29 is good. Okay, that's a good age. Nah, I could have been more transparent and open about my true feelings. I felt like I walked on eggshells my entire marriage. I think that's good. I think that's Chiquita. That's good transparency, and I think that's a lot of women, especially when they have an idea of when you had a real good daddy, and you know what a daddy is supposed to look like, and you're waiting on him to become that dude. But sometimes, and I know you said he was a pro. I know you said Vakisa he was a project. I feel you. I know he was a project, right? But growing sometimes is like a project, especially when you're young. And and when you understand that the two become one, you realize that she has what you're missing and he has what she's missing, right? And when if you trust each other enough, then you I like that word you used a minute ago about the variables. You start to fill in the voids for all of those variables. If you're mature enough, if you trust each other enough. I didn't do what I was supposed to do because I wasn't present. I thought my presence was the present. So me being present, I thought that was powerful enough, but it wasn't enough to build what needed to be built. She would read things. She'll say, "Hey, this says that every time we kiss, we need to kiss for 7 seconds and hold it." But she was looking for something to build it on, right? Because she had been in a marriage where she respected her parents' marriage, and and she knew what it looked like, and she wanted hers kind of look. So she was giving she was giving me breadcrumbs to get to the destination that she wanted me to get to. But sometimes I didn't eat the breadcrumbs. In fact, I might have invited the crows or the birds to eat up those breadcrumbs. Let me read these because now men spoke, but now women are speaking. And I like that. I like that. That's a good conversation. I like that. Vakisa said, we didn't make it to 7. I'm older than my ex-husband. There was a maturity balance. Okay. Men sometimes get intimidated by that good daddy talk. They start feeling threatened. They do. They do. And sometimes those daddies who think they're good daddies, they think that they need a daddy. Like, for instance, I didn't need no daddy, but my daddy, I had a good daddy, right? I had a really, really good daddy. And I felt sometimes me and my ex-father-in-law would clash with some of the advice that he gave me that my father would never have given me. And me and him are cool now. I've even apologized. I even apologized to him. That's when I knew the Lord was working on me, because there was a time I just we did not. I mean, I didn't like him, and I understood why. And I understood why he didn't like me. I mean, I did his daughter like I did her, so I could get why he would be upset. I didn't. It took my daughter to make me see that. One day, my daughter got mad. That's why he don't. I wouldn't like you either. I said, oh. Boy, I'm gonna tell you something. Reality checks are real, man. Reality checks are riveting, especially when they come from your children. But when I saw myself, whenever I see myself in the mirror, I don't mind saying, "Oh, dang," and I don't mind going and fix it because I don't like drama. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't participate in it anymore. I would rather I can do bad by myself. So I mean, Shanika, I hear you now when you say that. Don't let folk use you as a garbage can. I promise you, not over here, cat. No, sorry, Bob. No, sorry, Bob. Let me read some more comments. Um, I'm over time, but I'm having fun, so I'm cool. But yeah, so they might get intimidated, but I don't want. Sometimes those good daddies force their way on the new. Now if he needs it, there were certain things that my father-in-law offered that I needed. There were certain things that their relationship that I saw in their relationship that I didn't see in my parents' relationships. Different aspects. Neither one was right or wrong, but I saw things in that I needed and that helped me. My mother-in-law was probably one of my biggest advocates. She kept inviting me to Thanksgiving dinner after we were separated. I'd be over there just as out of place, but she was, so I get it. All right, Sunshine Shining said, we can marry the wrong person believing prayer changes. Holding on to hope will prevail. Better days. 20 years passed, only got worse. My faith kept me married too long. He got comfortable, me always being there. And like I said earlier, there are instances where people married the wrong person. But you have to admit, if you're willing to have another conversation. And the thing about it, Sunshine Shining, Minister Melisa, the thing about it is that I don't see you out here on social media doing a campaign about how all men are bad men because you had a bad experience with your ex. That's the difference. Like you'll never hear me on here saying that all women are bad or all this or that. I'm going to share with you my mistakes, the thoughts. Thankfully, men are speaking up tonight and sharing their thoughts. And then you can take something, you can do what you want to process those thoughts. And if you can acclimate, acquiesce, do something, apply those thoughts to your life and use those as contextual clues going into the next relationship, brother, because believe me, I'm listening to y'all. When I had this conversation 4 or 5 years ago on this podcast, from an unhealed perspective, I did less talking. And when I talked, my words were strategic because really I wanted somebody to hear them. Does that make sense? That's why people call me and say, you ain't over your ex. I'm like, you're right. I never said I was. But this is 5 years ago now. Please understand in context what I'm talking about. She's moved on. I'm moving on. We good over here. All right. So I got one more question. If mismanagement, and I just want y'all to talk about, because I know all of y'all, like y'all said, y'all can't stand your exes and they were the worst person in the world. And, you hate them with a passion now. I get it. Something drew you to them in the beginning. But if mismanagement is the real issue, what's one thing you're going to manage differently in the next 90 days? Not your next relationship, because some of us haven't gotten over the past one. And the reason why you can't really move on to the next one is because you haven't gotten over the past one. So if you start a 90-day recalibration process, right? If you say what's one thing and you can manage differently in the next 90 days in your personal life, not your next relationship, yourself, the next chapter, what's something you can manage differently going forward? Some of you, it might be rest. I'm going to make sure I get more rest. I'm going to work on my communication. I've definitely done that. I'm going to work on therapy. I'm going to get in therapy. I got one of the best therapists. I mean, she helped me a lot. It helped me. I've had 2 therapists. First one, different. She had a really tough job because I was a mess. I was trying to make sure. I used to call another therapist to make sure she was doing it right. And if she didn't understand something or made me mad in the middle of the therapy session, I would say something crazy to throw the whole therapy session off for it, to try to confuse her because I could. So, but I've grown. Now the second therapist, she was younger, a little attractive, young. She wasn't putting up with none of that mess. She was like, hey, you did what? Like she was like, Negro, please, but she wouldn't put up with that mess. And plus I was more healed. The first one had to deal with the unhealed version of me. But consistency. Okay. Chiquita says she's going to work on therapy and learning how to love yourself more than you love another person. Okay. That's good. Because you can't, if you don't love yourself, and I don't think I loved myself enough in my last relationship, but if you don't love yourself enough, you can't expect anybody else to love you like that. But maybe you're going to work on consistency. Work on knowing what your boundaries are and not allowing people to, and just because you have boundaries, you don't have to put up an electric fence. I mean, you don't have to put up, you don't have to be all dramatic because somebody crossed your boundaries. You could just put up a warning sign that says private property. And if a person can read, that's enough. That boundary does enough in and of itself. Vakisa said, I'm going to work on trusting my intuition the first time instead of regretting not trusting in hindsight. Okay. And you know what, Vakisa, the unhealed version of me would have read that the wrong way. And you didn't say anything wrong. But understand, Patty West says that text alone have no tone, right? So sometimes when we rely on text, we don't read what the text is actually saying. We interpret based on what's inside of us. And she's just basically saying, I'm going to trust my intuition. Last time I was looking at some of the aesthetics. I was looking at potential. He might make pretty babies, whatever. I don't know. I'm just joking, Vakisa. But this time I'm going to make sure that I really trust my intuition on that. And that's good. You should. Sunshine Shining said these next 90 days, I'm going to work on forgiveness because that'll set you free to love again without fear. What if after 90 days we go through this recalibration process, right? After 90 days, we go through this and we come out like Sunshine Shining just said, able to love again without fear. That stuff. Absolutely. Your perception is based on your reality. your perception. And I thank God that I'm gifted enough now to view, even with my perception, I can see things 2 or 3 different ways at one time. I can read a one statement and try, and now, and that's why I like sometimes, like now that I've heard Chiquita's voice because she was on my podcast a couple of weeks ago. Whenever I read her text, I can hear her voice, and if I'm able to hear her voice, then I kind of, but sometimes you look at somebody and based on how they look when you read their text, you try to perceive a certain way, and sometimes their perception is totally off. So you're right, Vakisa. You're 100% right. You're absolutely right. So next 90 days, somebody else might want to work on spiritual discipline. You want to wake up, make sure you get your prayer life together. I'm going to wake up every morning before I put my feet on the floor. I'm going to put my knees on the ground, and I'm going to pray, and I'm going to meditate to set the day. Some of us might want to work on the healing because it's been tough. We've never asked. For years, I didn't heal. I literally went to my couch and sat there. I've told the story. I ate on the couch. I slept on the couch. I didn't go to bed at night. I fell asleep. And if I so happened to wake up before the morning, I would try to go get in the bed, but I couldn't stay in the bed because the walls were talking so much and the silence sounded so much like noise that it was deafening. And the only way I could really deafen that noise was to turn the TV back on. So I went back to the couch. I literally stayed on the couch all of the time. I chose not to heal until I walked by that mirror. And when I walked by that mirror and I said, "Hey, self." I said, "Hey, self," because I bumped into me again. Because I had lost myself. I lost the vision. I lost the gift and the calling of God that he had put on my life. I mean, because I knew what the end looked like. I just didn't know what the process looked like to get there. I just thought I would just one day appear. I'm just being transparent. I'm working on that. Right? That's real. And I appreciate y'all ladies for sharing those things. That's real. I appreciate your honesty. I do. A lot of people probably relate to the same things that you're saying right now. And to be honest, Chiquita, Vakisa, Sunshine Shining, Mike, Calvin, it took courage to say the things that you all said tonight. And I want you to sit with that, because what you in essence did is if those were burning ashes that were on your altar, you know that ashes that are on the altar of your heart, they prevent fire from burning the way that it should really burn. So whenever if you've ever made a fire before, and one of the first things you do is you take out the ashes, because the ashes have a way of smothering the flame. If those testimonies that you've told tonight were considered ashes on your heart, I pray to God that because you've released them tonight, that your flame will burn brighter, and that you'll feel forgiven, and you'll be even more profitable in your next relationship. That's what I'm praying for myself. So sit with the fact that you've told your truth tonight, Vakisa. Sit with the reality, Chiquita, that you've told your truth to strangers who not gonna judge you, who not gonna hold it against you. I would be a nut. I'd be a fool to sit here and debate an opinion or debate your story. Your story is your story. All we're doing is we're putting all our stories out there, and we're just learning from each other's situations. So this kind of work right here, looking honestly at what was mismanaged, learning how to manage the next 90 days differently. That's what I'm doing as I'm working on some things. Now I got a program that I put together called the Divorce Reset System. It's a 90-day path for women who've been shaken by divorce, who want truth, healing, clarity, and structure from somebody who's actually walked through the fire, right? And if that's you, that QR code that's up there, you can go and check it out. You can try it out for 7 days free too. But that QR code, the link is right there. And if it's not you, it might be somebody you know. Just send them this show, and you can listen. They can listen whether they've been divorced or not. If whether the divorce happened last month or 10 years ago, the work is still available. And you can stop relitigating who they were. And you know what you can do? You can start managing who you've become. because trouble don't last always. If you will, every day, this is me. This is James Turkin. This is James Kirkland 101. Every day, Chiquita, I become a little bit more me. And based on what I've learned today, I'll be more me tomorrow based on what I went through today and yesterday. Today, I had a pretty good day. I got one phone call that kind of upset me. It did. I ain't gonna lie. It ticked me off a little bit. It really did. And part of it's because the person that called me still remembers who I was instead of who I am. And the stuff, if they really knew who I was now, they wouldn't have made that phone call. Because I got IDGAF so bad, IDGAF. Y'all know what it means. I don't give a flip. Especially when it comes to anything with drama. I don't do it. I'm almost borderline passive aggressive, but I'm not. So that conversation could have been held. But thankfully, the things I used to do, because I didn't cuss him out. I didn't even respond. You know what I said? I said, okay, cool. I don't care. I've survived real live issues. I have survived the worst season of my life. I'm not going to say that I went through the fire and the flood and I didn't at a certain point, smell like smoke, or that I didn't feel remnants of the water. But like the psalmist said in Psalm 66, although I've come through fire and flood, the end result was that I ended up in a wealthy place. And those who don't understand what a wealthy place means, it has nothing to do with money. It's a place of rich fulfillment. You know what it is? And I'm closing. I'm closing. Unless y'all gonna call in, or unless y'all got something to say, I'm about to start closing. So I'm about to turn the music on. I'm telling you right now. Unless this place of fulfillment, when I got to the place where I'm comfortable, hey, looking at the man in the mirror. Because for a season of my life, I'm gonna be honest with you, Chiquita, thank you for listening tonight. Vakisa, thank you. I'm just being honest. But for a season of my life, I didn't even look at the man in the mirror. At a certain point, I didn't even look in the mirror. I didn't need to look in the mirror. I could tie my tie riding down the street. I had 32 teeth back then. I could brush my teeth while I was in the closet picking out what I was going to wear. I know my natural pattern of my hair, so I could brush my hair after I got through buttoning up my shirt, or in the car when I got closer to work. So I really didn't look in the mirror. But when I finally looked in the mirror, I saw some things that needed adjusting. I had a little matter in my eyes. And truth be told, I wasn't really hitting the right wave pattern, so my track on my hair sometimes would get off. Things just seemed to work out better when I did the proper assessment in the mirror. And I'm inviting you all tonight to take a look in the mirror. And if you do that, if you see something that needs adjusting, by all means, my brother, by all means, my sister, please make those adjustments. Let me read these final two comments. Unless I get a phone call or somebody clicks on live, then we're going to be heading on out. Chiquita said they can try to judge, but I know there is only one judge. Absolutely. And Sunshine Shining said, the enemy sets traps. You choose the lessons to know how to overcome the darkness. Darkness only comes to destroy you. With God help, we can choose differently to love self more in peace. I'm closing on that. That's good. Choose yourself. But when you choose yourself, do the work. Get good advice. Put yourself around people who have your best interests at heart. And because they have your best interests at heart, they're going to make sure they give you good advice, and they're going to see you through the worst moments of your life. But listen, if you want to be a blessing to the show, let me put this banner up. If you want to be a blessing to the show, there's a Cash App. If you want to become a partner on the show, like I said, that's $25 a month. Reach out to me and I'll send you the little contract information so you can do that. If you have a business and you want to advertise on the Intellectual Stew, y'all see where we're going with this. This is going to grow. We're going to grow. We're going to grow. All right. But if you see the Cash App there, do that. If you're interested in learning about the divorce reset system, that's the QR code up in the corner. All right. I'm out. It's been real. But as I always say in closing, the world is changing. My question for you is, why do you remain the same? Y'all have a good night, and I love y'all. Here we go.
Intellectual stew. Intellectual stew with James Kirkland.
Powerful and provocative, prophetic and practical,
Have you ever found yourself?
Are you dating for that person?
informative and
I feel
inspirational.
every bit of it. Like, I'm not trying to waste my
How you gonna do better if you don't know what better looks like? I do.
Intellectual stew.
Come on, let's talk about it with me, the mind massager.
Intellectual